Hi everyone! It feels like it was only recently that I did a book haul, but guess what? There's another one on the way, and it is today, as you've probably guessed already. I've got 29 books to show you. There are, I think, 20 physical books and 9 ebooks. So let's get started. I'll show you the ebooks at the end. So if you want to stick around for those, they'll be at the end. As usual, I won't be going into too much detail about every single book, and as usual there are different genres as well, so there'll be hopefully a little bit for everybody. So I'll start with 3 middle grades. The first one is Wondersmith by Jessica Townsend, which is the sequel to Nevermore, and I really enjoyed Nevermore. I read it twice, but first time I didn't really enjoy it as much, but the second time round I reread it and thought this is really good, so I wanted a sequel. So now I have a sequel, but I think everybody knows what these books are about, but I'll tell you anyway. So in the first book we follow Morrigan Crow, who is considered to be a cursed child, and on the eve of her 11th birthday she's supposed to die, but instead she's whisked away by Jupiter North to go and enter into the Wondrous Society. With that she has to go through different trials and stuff like that. So this is the sequel to it, and I'm actually really looking forward to it. It's quite a bright colour and I am genuinely looking forward to it. The next one is the one I've wanted to buy for a long time, but every time something stopped me, so this time when I saw that in W.H. Smith I thought I might as well get it. But it is October, it's a shiny cover, by Kata Balin. It's obviously quite an autumnal book. There's something about this book that really draws me in. So we've got 2 main characters, a girl who is 11 years old and her dad, and they live in the woods. And I think it's genuinely like they live a separate life. They basically live in the wild, and I'm guessing wild sort of conditions as well, I don't know for sure, but apparently the mum returns and it changes their lives forever. There's something appealing to me to live in the woods, almost like a wild life. That sounds intriguing to me, so I'm looking forward to this one. And then the last middle grade book is The Jade Boy by Kate Kane. There's something sort of creepy about this cover. I bought it in a charity shop when I saw that one. I just thought it sounded really intriguing, and it says a confident blend of historical fact with creepy fantasy. I do like the sound of creepy fantasy, so I'm intrigued. I've never seen this book before anywhere else, so I again like books like that. That's why I like sometimes charity shops, because you just don't know what's going to be there and it's exciting. I won't be reading too many blurbs for you because I can imagine that would be boring, but this one I will be reading the blurb. So, what if the Great Fire of London wasn't an accident? 12-year-old servant Jem Green lives a life of drudgery in the household of a powerful duke. But when sinister Count Casalon pays the Duke a visit, Jem is forced to face worse than kitchen chores. The Count is plotting something terrible, and Jem seems to be central to his wicked scheme. With the help of newfound friends and an apprentice sorceress, Ptolemy, a mind speaking mute, and Cleo, their pet monkey, Jem must discover why Casalon needs him so badly before the Count unleashes devastation of the city of London. Again, something about it just sounds really interesting. Next one I've got, I think it's like potentially historical, slightly historical fiction maybe. I don't really know what genre this one is. It's basically fiction, but it is The Beloved Girls by Harriet Evans. It's quite a pretty cover. Again, I bought it in W.H. Smith, and again it's one of those that I've looked at many times before, but something stopped me from buying it. But this time I was in a really book buying mood, so I bought this one. But this one again says gorgeous, gothic and gripping, dark and delicious, the most atmospheric book. So all of these things do sound rather intriguing. We've got the main character who goes missing the day before her wedding anniversary, and apparently the mystery of her disappearance is covered somewhere 30 years previously. And there's a different storyline of back 30 days ago that follow another character who's not exactly welcomed in the house that she lives until one specific night when there's some sort of ritual, and that's when she's needed. So I'm guessing something happened and somehow that's related to the current disappearance of the main character. It does sound intriguing, and it's quite a big book. It's just over 500 pages, so hopefully there's going to be enough of those juicy details, because I do sometimes enjoy like a dual time story that focuses on some mystery or, well, disappearance or something like that. It just sounds interesting, so hopefully I'll enjoy this one. I'll very briefly also mention the 4 books that I got in the box of stories in April, but if you want to have a look at more detail in what was in those books, the video will be down below for you to check out if you want to have a look. But it's these 4 books. So we've got Birds of Paradise by Oliver K. Langmead. The cover reminds me of some other cover, but I think this one is like a retelling of the Bible in a way. This one is sort of, I guess, a retelling of even Adam's story. I don't know too much about it. I just know there's been some sort of destruction, and Adam is now trying to desperately gather all of the birds, all of the animals from mankind. Then I've got a fantasy romance, which is Wolf's Mate by Celia Kyle. I must admit, I'm not looking forward to reading this one too much, just because I feel like I haven't really read much of fantasy romance anyway, but I don't seem to enjoy them. I read, I think, a couple, and I just don't think it's my thing, but I'm still willing to give it a go whenever I'm in the mood, or just try it and see how I like it or not. But it's also a shifter rogues novel, so there's going to be some shape shifting. The main character is in danger, and there's this agent or somebody who will protect her and whatnot. I don't know. Agent Declan Reed has promised to keep her out of danger, but the sexy wolf shifter may be more trouble than she bargained for. Then I've got String City by Graham Edwards, which is, as it says, an interdimensional thriller, which to me it sounds like an absolute mishmash of everything, which excites me, to be honest. There's obviously different realities or different timelines that the characters would go to. The main character basically can walk between realities, and in different realities there's going to be different like gods, living concepts and weird things and whatnot. So it's going to be, like I said, a mishmash of everything. And there's Greek titans, interdimensional spider god, and mysterious creature known as the Fool. Okay, so that actually does intrigue me greatly, so because I've never heard anything quite like this before, so I'm looking forward to it. And then the last one from Box of Stories is The Town by Sean Prescott, which is, I think, more of a sci-fi novel. In this one there's basically appearing these like holes that seem to be devouring towns, and somebody's got to stop it and find out what's going on. This sounds intriguing as well, so looking forward to this one. Now I've got a couple of thrillers here. Again, I bought them in W.H. Smith, I think on the same day. I was so in the mood to buy books. One of them is Truly, Darkly, Deeply by Victoria Selman. In this book we follow the main character who is dating this really nice guy, but then she breaks up with him, and soon after there's a serial killer who seems to be attacking the girls who look exactly like the main character. Sounds intriguing. And then I've got The Match by Harlan Coben. You've been living a lie, but the truth could kill you. Kind of like the cover, it's sort of creepy going to the forest. He's known as Wild, the boy from the woods. He has grown up knowing nothing of his parents, and even less about his own identity, until now, when a match on a DNA database puts him on the trail of a close relative, the only family member he has ever known. Wild thinks he might be about to solve the mystery of who he really is. Only this relation disappears as quickly as he's resurfaced. Undaunted, Wild continues his research, becoming caught up in a secret community committed to exposing anonymous online trolls. Then one by one, people start to die, and it soon becomes clear that a serial killer is targeting this secret community, and that the next victim could be Wild himself. It sounds really actually quite intriguing, and it's got a hell of a lot of good reviews on Goodreads, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. This one also has a picture of a bridge. I don't know what bridge that is, but still, I'm intrigued by this one. Then I guess I've got a bit of a historical thriller, and that is this one, so Blackout by Simon Scarrow. I bought this one in the works as there was a deal three books for £6, so that was one of the deal, and then I'll show you the other two. But this one In the darkness of war, true evil walks unseen. So basically this one is set in the period of World War II in Germany, and obviously with the war going on and everything, which is as bad as it is already, but there's also seemed to be a serial killer. So somebody, I'm guessing the main character, is trying to investigate that as well. So it sounds again like something I've never read before, so I'm quite intrigued, even for the sake of it being different and being in a different setting and a bit of a different timeline. I'm excited for this one. And then the other two that I bought in the works are actually part of a series that I've never heard of before, but we've got The Rail Detective and The Excursion Train, both by Edward Marston. And they're quite old books apparently. Like the first one was published in 2002, I think, 2004. So, and they're both part of a Detective Inspector Colbeck mystery series, which is, I think, all surrounds by like, it's got to do with railway, all of it, and of course it's historical, as you can probably guess from the covers. But this one is the first book in a series, this one is the second. And I know there's, I think, 15 books in a series. So if I like it, I'm gonna have to read all of them, I guess. But we'll see. We won't be going that far. We're just gonna see, because I do, like, one of my favourite books of all time, well, series of all time, is the Sherlock Holmes series, which is obviously set in a in a similar period of time. I know it's probably not going to be anything like Sherlock Holmes because that one is just perfection, but I'm still intrigued. And again, I do like a historical fiction, and I do like detective stories that are set back in the past as well. There's something intriguing about them, something charming about them, so, and they're normally quite atmospheric. The first book is set in London 1851. There's going to be a great exhibition opening, and there is going to be some casualties in the train. Mail train is robbed and derailed. So we've got the main character, who's Detective Inspector Robert Colbeck, who's trying to obviously uncover what's going on, but there's more to that. We've got a girl called Madeline, who's the daughter of the injured train driver. She becomes a pawn in the criminal's game. So sounds just really quite interesting, and hopefully I'll enjoy it because I've got both books in the series, well, the first two. So we'll see how that goes. Then when I was in the charity shop, I also bought one of the books. I bought The Devil's Workshop by Alex Gratian, which just sounds extremely intriguing. But then when I came home, I realised it's the third book in a series. So what did I have to do? I had to buy the first two books, of course. So we've got The Yard, which is quite big, it's 500 pages. And we've got The Black Country as well, which is the second book. I think it's a 5-book series, and I've got the first 3 in the series, which I'm so excited for. Again, it's a historical detective novel. It just sounds intriguing, but honestly the third book sounds the best because that one's got something to do with the case of some prisoners escaping from prison, and one of them is Jack the Ripper. Doesn't that just sound intriguing? I'll read you the blurb because it actually sounds intriguing. 1889, 1 year on from Jack the Ripper, a new killer stalks London's streets. But he has not reckoned on Scotland Yard's newly formed murder squad and the team of new recruit Walter Day and the world's first forensic pathologist, Dr. Kingsley. I don't know what to expect because it doesn't really say much about it. I've never heard of these books before, by the way. Again, that's the beauty of charity shops. You just find, hopefully, gems that have been published a while ago but nobody talked about, or people did talk about them but it was a while ago. So, because this one was published back in... oh, okay, it's not that far, 2012. I've never heard of these before, but I'm intrigued. Again, historical setting, detective, set in London, sounds intriguing, sounds super intriguing. So hopefully I'll enjoy the series because I've got the first 3. Then another more of a historical fiction novel. I've got The Lady of the Rivers by Philippa Gregory. I recently spoke to my friend about Philippa Gregory and she's obsessed with her books, so I had to buy it. I've always been meaning to start this series because I can't remember what the series is called, but it's basically really well researched, almost imagining of how lives of royalty in England or in the UK would like live, because apparently this author does a lot of research into how things used to be back in the day, how people used to live, and she knows a lot about history, so she's bringing all of that in a story. I think this one is the first in the series. There's like 15-book series, And I don't know if you have to read them in order or whatnot, but I just googled that, and I think the first one that says in the series is this one. And this one is set in 1435. And I don't know anything, well, I don't know too much about history of the UK, so I wouldn't know anything about it. We follow, I think it's Jacquetta of Luxembourg. She's got this friend, Richard Woodville, the Duke's squire, and then they become lovers and marry in secret. Then they return to Lancaster Court, where she becomes close friends with young King Henry VI, new queen. The king slides into a mysterious sleep. Margaret, his queen, turns to untrustworthy favourites for help, and Richard, Duke of York, threatens to overturn the whole kingdom for his rival dynasty, the House of York. So I don't really read enough of like his proper historical fiction that is actually based on historical events, but there's something about it that intrigues me. Plus I've heard fantastic things about this author, and I'm genuinely looking forward to reading this book. I think I'll enjoy it. I've heard great things about the writing style, and I've heard that apparently like immerses you in it. And it's not just for the history that you're reading it, it's for the lives of the actual women, how they lived, how they were treated back in the day and stuff like that. So I'm super intrigued by this one. It's not a small book. It's 500 pages with a sort of small font, so we'll see how that goes. Then I got a couple of books from a second-hand bookshop where I went to with my friend, and the first one is Hollow Pike by James Dawson, where witchcraft never sleeps. There's something creepy about this cover. It's got sprayed edges, purple sprayed edges, and it's got black and purple, which is my favourite combination still. So I think it's a YA witchy kind of book. I'm going to read you the blurb. She thought she'd be safe in the country, but you can't escape your own nightmares. And Liz London dreams repeatedly that someone is trying to kill her. Liz thinks she's being paranoid. After all, who would want to murder her? She doesn't believe in the local legends of witchcraft. She doesn't believe that anything bad will really happen to her. You never do you? Not until you're alone in the woods after dark and a twig snaps. Sounds intriguing. I'm sure I've seen this cover somewhere before. Someone must have talked about it quite a while ago. It's not a new release at all. It was released quite a while ago, but 2012. I'm intrigued by this one. And then another one was actually a blind date with a book, which just sounded extremely intriguing, and I bought it. So it's Rant by Chuck Palahniuk. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's obviously a little bit battered, but it actually sounds bizarre, disturbing, but interesting. So we've got this main character who is, I think you can call him a serial killer, but his weapon is basically rabies. So somehow he does it that, like, if somebody kisses him, that person is going to die, because somehow he's going to make sure that they get the rabies. I don't know how it works. Like I said, it sounds absolutely obviously disturbing, but also intriguing. I think some of it is like in the form of interviews, and some of it is just like a normal narration. I've got no idea what to think about it. I've never ever heard of this book before, but I'm so intrigued by this one. And I think this person is actually, he's got like some sort of mental illness that potentially, or condition even, that makes him do things that he does. Crazy, but I'm intrigued. And then the last physical book that I got just today is Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb, which is the third book in a Farseer trilogy. It's massive. It's got 830 something pages, which is ridiculous. I only yesterday, I think the day before yesterday, I finished Royal Assassin, which I will mention in my wrap up at the end of the month. But I had to buy the third book in the series for whenever I get to it, really. So yeah. But in the first book we follow Fitz, who is a bastard son of a king in waiting. But when he's brought to the castle, his granddad, who is the king, basically says to train him as an assassin, because the king in waiting is actually flees and doesn't want to do anything with the court anymore or with the boy. So that was the first book. This one is massive, honestly. But there we go. So now moving on to my ebooks. I recently got more into ebooks and graphic novels. So you'll see a few of those in here. But the three I've already mentioned in one of my previous videos. They are basically like Five Nights at Freddy's series, and I think there are plenty more in the series, but I only read the trilogy, I think it's the main trilogy, and decided to stop. But we've got the Silver Eyes, the Twisted Ones, and the Fourth Closet. I can't remember the author at this point, but the picture will be here. They were really interesting graphic novels. I think it's like a horror one, but the concept basically, there was some horrible events happening 10 years ago, I think, in this pizza place, and there were these massive automated figures and something's gone horribly wrong with them. So and some children were killed or kidnapped or both. And now in this first story we've got the same group of people who were there at the time, and they basically go into that old place, discover all of that obviously abandoned and everything, but things start to happen similar to what was happening before. It was really good. I actually read them all in one day on a Sunday, and I had such a great time with them. I really enjoyed them, found them really fascinating and a bit creepy. So the third book finished in a weird way that didn't make sense to me, so I just decided not to keep reading them. But it was really good fun. My next one is Seance Tea Party. Again, it should be here. And that was another graphic novel. That was just such a cute graphic novel, and the art in the book, in the graphic novel, was also really like cozy and very autumnal, and it was just adorable. I loved it, but it's not a wrap up, so you'll see that in my wrap up, but it was just adorable. So in this book we follow a girl, let me just find the description again. After watching a circle of friends seemingly fade away, Laura is determined to still have fun on her own, so when a tea party leads Laura to discovering Alexa, the ghost that haunts her house, they soon become best friends. Honestly, it was such a bittersweet story. I really enjoyed it. Then I discovered, because I've got Amazon Prime, I discovered apparently that's a thing, that there is a selection of books every month that people like me who have Amazon Prime, they have access to pre-releases. I think there might be only Kindle books, but I'm not 100% sure, and you can choose one out of that selection, which I didn't know was a thing until I went on my Kindle and just randomly discovered it. So I chose one book, and that book is called 1,000 Recipes for Revenge. It's a really gorgeous cover as well, and I'm currently reading it actually. This book has quite like a unique magic system, I would say. We've got Ada, who is the main character. She is, I think, maybe in her 50s or something. She's got this magic that she can taste different flavors of food or anything by just being around it, basically, and she can detect if something is poisoned or where it came from, how, like if it was a piece of meat, then how it was bred, and where the, I don't know, this specific vegetable grew and in what conditions and stuff like that. So it's quite interesting, but she's basically on the run because she became a rogue chef, is what they call them. She used to be in like a group of people who used to be serving to the king and stuff like that, but she escaped and became a rogue chef. But now there are some assassins that seem to be targeting her and potentially other members of the group, so she's fleeing with her grandmother to find peace and potentially save her friends as well. But there's also a different storyline. We've got a foreign princess in a strange court, and who turns out to be Ada's daughter. She also has a talent for this chef magic. She is planning to marry this prince, and then she quickly discovers that there's a plot from somebody else to kill him. Somebody is basically trying to set it up so that everyone believes that she's the one who's trying to poison him. But I'm currently really enjoying the book. It's got actually quite high ratings on Goodreads as well. Not many people have read it, but I'm having a good time with it. So I'll let you know what I think about it when I read it. And then another one about another graphic novel, and it is The Sad Ghost Club, which I also read. I'll read you the blurb for this one. Ever felt anxious and alone? like you don't belong anywhere, like you're almost invisible. Find your kindred spirits at the Sad Ghost Club. This is the story of one of those days, a day so bad you can barely get out of bed, when it's a struggle to leave the house, and when you do you wish you hadn't. But even the worst of days can surprise you. When one sad ghost, lost and alone at a crowded party, spies another sad ghost across the room, they decide to leave together. What happens next changes everything, because that night they start the Sad Ghost Club, a secret society for the anxious and alone, a club for people who think they don't belong. It was adorable. It's not a wrap up, so I'm going to move on to a different book. The next one is Descender, which I've had actually for a while, ever since I got my tablet. I just never talked about it before, but I've decided since I'm talking about ebooks, I might as well include that one. But it's another graphic novel, and that one is a sci-fi graphic novel. I'll read you the blurb. Young robot boy Tim 21 and his companions struggle to stay alive in a universe where all androids have been outlawed and bounty hunters lurk on every planet. Written by award-winning creator Jeff Lemire, Descender is a rip-roaring and heartfelt cosmic odyssey. Lemire pits humanity against machine and world against world to create a sprawling epic. No idea what to expect of it, but I've heard good things about it. Next one is Dangerous Remedy by Kat Dunn. Again, I've had this one for a very long time and never talked about it before, but it is the book that I have. I think it's like a historical fantasy because it is set during a deadly world of the French Revolution. A whirlwind of action, science and magic reveals, with a diverse cast of fearless heroines, a band of rebels like no other. To be honest, I don't remember myself what the book is about because I haven't read the blurb for a while, and I think it was on my Kindle before I even knew about it. So, Camille, a revolutionary's daughter, leads a band of outcasts, a runaway girl, a deserter and aristocrat in hiding. As the Battalion de Morts, they cheat death, saving those about to meet a bloody end at the blade of Madame la Guillotine. But their latest rescue is not what she seems. The girl's no aristocrat, but her dark and disturbing powers means both the royalists and the revolutionaries want her. But who and what is she? In a fast and furious story full of glamour and excesses, intrigue and deception of these dangerous days, no one can be trusted, everyone is to be feared. As Camille learns the truth, she's forced to choose between loyalty to those she loves and the future. Do you know what? That actually sounds really intriguing. Now I really want to read the book. One day I'll read it. I also kind of like the cover. And the last book is The Lady of the Lock by Ryan Vernell. I only bought this book yesterday just because I saw that on Kindle and thought that sounds actually intriguing. It was only £3, $2.99, so I thought I might as well get it. But it's apparently one of the Lockview mysteries, and I think there's going to be more, but I like the cover. It's so like creepy, but it's a middle grade. It's quite a short one as well. But the premise of it just sounds absolutely intriguing to me. Sorry, I'm just looking at my phone to try and find the description for you. In a sleepy Highland town steeped in myth and legend, a long-buried secret is rising once again. When a local boy disappears in the dead of night, all signs point to one inescapable truth. The Lady of the Lock has returned, and it's up to Tyler to stop her. A supernatural mystery full of twists and turns, perfect for those who prefer an adventure of the spine-chilling variety. So it's one of those creepy middle grades that I seem to be enjoying a lot, and I'm actually in the mood to start that one. So I'm really looking forward to it, and hopefully I'm going to get to it sooner rather than later. It's only 140 pages as far as I'm aware, so I'm really looking forward to it. But yes, these are all of the books that I bought recently. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these and what you thought of them. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye!